The Arrupe lecture series is named in honor of Father Pedro Arrupe, who was the Superior General of the Jesuits from the 60s, the 70s, and the 1980s. And in the early 1970s, in a time of great uncertainty in the world in general and in Jesuit education in particular, Father Pedro Arrupe, the man who has inspired this lecture, he challenged the alumni of Jesuit schools to be, quote, men and women for others. And 4 decades later, today, here at St. Peter's Prep, we strive to give life and to give meaning to the words of Pedro Arrupe by living out the principles that we know through the profile of the graduate at graduation.
We hear about violence in our cities every day, but we rarely look deeper to discover the root causes of that violence. I think we don't allow ourselves to be shocked anymore. We're not shocked by shootings on street corners, by beatings, by the drug trade and the violence that comes with it. And I think that that's ultimately harmful to our communities. I think it's particularly harmful to young people. Young men, and disproportionately young men of color, are affected by these issues each and every day, affected by violence each and every day. These are kids like you drawn into the cycle of violence merely because of where they live or where they were born. The other night I went to hear Father Greg Boyle speak. He's the Jesuit priest who started Homeboy Industries in Los Angeles, and he said that you will never find a hopeful gang member. Where there is despair, there will be gangs. And I think that the same can be said for urban violence. I think that it develops out of despair. I hope that by delving deeper into this issue, we can stop being complacent and remind ourselves that this kind of violence should not be normal. It shouldn't be something that we hear about every day. Hopefully through that we can stop dehumanizing people who die on street corners, devaluing them as members of our society only because of where that corner is located. Arrupe Week gives us the chance to do what our Catholic Jesuit faith calls us to: examine a complex issue of injustice, think critically about our role in it, and then take action. And I hope in doing that we can infuse some of that hope that Father Greg Boyle mentioned back into our communities.
As prep students, we have the luxury of being located in the downtown business district of Jersey City. So we aren't really exposed to urban violence and its effect on people, primarily in inner cities like Jersey City. We tend to really ignore this major social injustice because we aren't exposed to urban violence at prep, even though just a few blocks up the road, this type of violence occurs on a daily basis. And we never hear about it because urban violence is an issue that's often ignored and neglected. It's important that this year's theme is urban violence because we as a prep community will hopefully be able to understand the reality of the struggles that unfold around us, not only in Jersey City, but around the country as well. And this year's theme is one of tremendous importance to me because combating urban violence is something that I'm very passionate about. Personally, I chose to take part in the Arrupe Week Committee because of my background and upbringing. I grew up in Newark, and it's allowed me to fully understand the causes and effects of urban violence. And I often witness urban violence, and it strikes me that violence in urban areas like Newark can just sneak by news reports just because it's considered a normal part of life or a normal part of that culture. And people die in these cities every day as a result of urban violence, but much of it could be avoided if there was a prominent voice or a strong voice behind the cause. So the goal of Arrupe Week is to shed light on this growing problem and to allow students to really voice their opinions on the matter, because together as a community we can spark change and help combat this social injustice.
It is said the only thing necessary for evil to be triumphant is for good people to do nothing. We are better than this. This was able to transpire. This evil was able to fester. Months went by and nothing happened because people chose to be silent. And I understand. There's reason to be silent. I understand. There's fear of your own safety and security. I understand that these characters were well known in the community. I understand what their reputations were, but it is still not an excuse to remain silent.
That's not normal. This is not normal. I want you to know it's not normal. You living this life like it's normal. It is abnormal to go to school, to talk about your friends dying, to not be able to walk home safely from school, to be jumped every other day, to fail everything, to live in squalor, to have people's parents coming outside fighting with them in the middle of the street. This is not normal. To be going to the hospital every other week, to be wearing t-shirts that say rest in peace, to be writing rest in peace on the wall. This is not normal. It's not normal. Nobody else's children do this.
And it was also a way we wanted to work as church. Because as church, we work across borders. That's part of who we are. Sure, you have the U.S. church, you have the Mexican church, but in the end, we are the church.
Where there is no us and them, where there's just us. I suspect if kinship was our goal, we would no longer be promoting justice, we'd be celebrating it. And that's what we're all called to do, to seek a kind of compassion that can stand in awe at what the poor have to carry, rather than stand in judgment at how they carry it.
Our understanding of the incarnation by saying that the earth itself has been sanctified by Christ's participation in it. Suddenly the incarnation takes on a whole new meaning. What if we were to enter into a contemplation like you all do on your retreats, and when you think about the resurrection, and you imagine yourself in that story as the tomb, and allow Christ to rise literally within you. It changes how we are in relationship with the earth. And unless we begin, gentlemen, to change how we are in relationship with the earth, then we will continue to consume at 4 times the rate that the earth can sustain.
So through the Arrupe lecture, we hope to give everyone here an opportunity to see things with new eyes, to reflect on an important issue of our time, and then hopefully have the energy and the creativity to go and address this and to go out and to change the world in the way that Pedro Arrupe exhorted people 40 years ago when he spoke to the alumni of Jesuit high schools to do what they could, knowing what they did as high school students at a Jesuit high school, and to help make the world a better place, to bring about the kingdom of God right here.